Hello, good evening, everyone. It's our we have benches to beds to benches. We have the case series for the PGT and from the PGT only. I welcome you all on behalf of the ISA Kolkata Metro City. This program we started as there is a pandemic and we know it's very difficult for a student to see and to have the regular studies because most of the medical college and especially we anesthesiologists are busy for the COVID duty and COVID management. So our professors, they are not getting time to teach or regular teachings are not happening. So we decided to help the PGTs and have this program. I welcome you all. This is our second series. Today, Dr. Rashmi will present, and we are very thankful to Dr. Nivedita Pani and Dr. Manmendra Sarkar to be faculty here. I welcome both of you, sir and madam. And I request you all, please spread this message and promote the PGT and you all or your colleagues to participate in this program. Please present in the program, bring your case, present. We'll provide you examiner and faculty. And please call, you can call me or Dr. Krishnendu Chanda or Dr. Shailesh, anyone of the ISC Kolkata Metro City, you please call us and become a presenter. So I welcome you all. Thank you. All mic to the coordinator, Dr. Shailesh and Krishnendu. Thank you so much.
So I welcome you all this evening. We have Professor Nivedita Pani, Department of Anesthesia and Anesthesiology and Critical Care, SCB Medical College, Cuttack with us. She was my examiner. Welcome, madam. Professor Manmendra Sarkar here, Professor of Anesthesiology at NRS Medical College and Hospital, Kolkata. Professor Jyothishna Goswami will be joining us later, and Dr. Krishna Podar is here, Director, Kolkata Pain Clinic, Secretary, Kolkata Society of Anesthesiologists. So welcome, Rashmi. Rashmi is a very sincere PGT at CMRI. She has been my student. She is second year. She is in second year, and she'll be presenting a case on mitral stenosis with pregnancy with mitral stenosis. So that's the case. What I want to tell the PGTs especially is that this is not a session to be afraid of, or that the teachers will grill you or you'll be like humiliated or something. No. What we are here to guide you.
আমি জয়েন করেছি
Okay, Krishnendu is there. Welcome, Krishnendu. So we are here to guide you, and you certainly have national faculties over here. So it's a grand opportunity for you. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to present yourself, to make mistakes here, and so that you learn from your mistakes and others also see how the exam is going to be. So let's go ahead with today's session. Krishnendu, Dr. Krishnendu, you have to say anything?
No, nothing. Rashmi, you just present your case, then summarize the case, then madam and sir will take over. You just start presenting your case.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. A very good evening to all my respected faculty present here. I am Dr. Rashmi Chakraborty, second year DNB PGT, Calcutta Medical Research Institute. My case for today is a case of mitral stenosis in pregnancy. A 27-year-old primary gravida, a homemaker by profession residing at Nadia district, presented in the emergency with chief complaints of leaking per vagina since the last 3 hours and shortness of breath on ordinary activity since the last 1 month. History of present illness is the patient presented with leaking per vagina which started 3 hours ago. There is associated pain lower abdomen and traces of blood per vagina. There was no such previous episode of bleeding PV in the entire pregnancy period. Her entire pregnancy was otherwise uneventful. The patient had no history of any exertional dyspnea until the last 1 month of pregnancy. The shortness of breath was on ordinary exertion. There is no associated chest pain, no cough, no radiation of pain, no hemoptysis. It was not associated with any food habits. There was no history of palpitation and there was no neurological deficit. As for the past history, the patient had past history of being affected by rheumatic fever at the age of 10 years following a sore throat infection. It was associated with no nerve involvement or movement disorder. There was, however, associated joint pain. Pain medications were given, but however, there was no proper follow-up. There was no associated chest pain, palpitation, loss of consciousness, or shortness of breath in all these years. Patient did not have any significant family history of sudden cardiac death, stroke, or congenital heart disease. There was no significant addiction history, drug history, or allergic history. There was no past surgical history for this patient. Last meal taken by the patient was 6 hours ago. On general examination, pallor was present. Cyanosis, jaundice, clubbing were absent. There was grade 1 edema, bilateral pedal edema. There was absent enlarged neck veins and neck glands. Blood pressure was around 120 by 70 millimeters of mercury. Pulse was 100 per minute, which was regular, bilaterally equal, and no radioradial or radiofemoral delay. And all the peripheral pulses were palpable. Temperature was 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Respiratory rate was 20 per minute, and SpO2 was 98% in room air. Weight of the patient was 70 kgs. On systemic examination, on examining the respiratory system, it was found that on inspection, the trachea was centralized and chest was bilaterally symmetrical. On palpation, it was found that the trachea was centralized and there was bilateral equal expansion of chest. On percussion, it was normal. On auscultation, there were equal vesicular breath sounds and no added sounds. On cardiovascular system inspection, nothing significant was found. On palpation, apex beat was palpable in the fifth intercostal space in the mid-clavicular line. On auscultation, there was loud S1, grade 2 low-pitched diastolic murmur was heard in the mitral area after an opening snap. The murmur was best heard when the patient was made to lie in the left lateral position. All other systemic examinations were within normal limits. The obstetric examination as inferred from the gynae PGT, the fundal height was corresponding to 36 weeks of gestation. It was a longitudinal lie with a cephalic presentation, and there was ruptured membrane with light meconium stained liquor. Cervical os was only 3 cm dilated, while fetal heart rate was 140 per minute. On airway examination, mouth opening was more than 3 cm, neck circumference was more than 34 cm, thyromental distance and sternomental distances were adequate. Teeth was normally normal. The modified Mallampati rating was 2, and upper lip bite test was class 1. There was no restricted neck movement. Spinal curvature showed no kyphoscoliotic changes. To summarize, a 27-year-old primigravida known case of mild mitral stenosis following a past history of rheumatic fever had presented in the emergency with ruptured membranes and light meconium stained liquor. Show and pain lower abdomen. There was no significant family history or past surgical history. On examination, loud S1, opening snap, and grade 2 low-pitched diastolic murmur was heard in the mitral area when the patient was in the left lateral position. The patient was posted for emergency LSCS. Thank you.
So you have presented the case. Now, before Madam and Sir starts questioning, you just summarize the case in few words.
Yes, sir.
Rasmi, can I start the question?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam. You start, madam.
So, Rasmi, your patient is a mitral stenosis patient, come for a cesarean section. Okay. Can you tell me what is the etiology of the mitral stenosis?
Ma'am, in this case, the etiology is rheumatic heart disease, rheumatic fever, followed by rheumatic heart disease.
What are the pathology occurs here?
Ma'am, the pathology here is when there is a group A streptococcal infection in the throat, the antibodies which are produced, they cross-react with the mitral valves and they cause fibrosis and stiffening of the mitral valve leaflets, because of which there is gradual stenosis of the mitral valve orifice.
Can you tell me what is that called? The valve cups become rigid. What is that called?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
When there is mitral commissure and chordae tendinous fuse and certain, and you said no, that valve
Yes.
cups become rigid. What does that call?
that is like severe. You're asking for the grades of mitral
Yes, yes.
stenosis.
When there is fibrosis, what does that called? This is a clinical
Uh,
question. That is fish mouth valve. Do you remember? Clinical.
Fish. There are three types of valvular anatomy. One is fish mouth, one is funnel shaped, and there is another one. There are three types.
The clinical. Okay. Can you tell me what are the classification asked for the mitral valve area? Normal is how much?
Ma'am, the mitral valve normal is 4 to 6 centimeters square, the area. But while for mitral stenosis, for mild mitral stenosis, it will be less than 1.5 to 2 centimeters square. For moderate, is 1 to 1.5 centimeters square, and for severe, it's less than 1 centimeter square.
What do you mean by the critical mitral stenosis?
I mean, critical mitral stenosis is the mitral stenosis, which is the severe mitral stenosis, where the orifice area is less than 1 centimeter square.
No. Less than 0.6 square centimeter. Okay.
0.6.
What do you mean by the diastolic transmitral pressure gradient classification?
Ma'am, the diastolic transmitral pressure gradient also classifies mitral. Comes under the classification of mitral stenosis for mild, moderate, and severe. For mild, mild is less 5.
Less
more
than 5. Yeah, less than 5.
It is 5 to 10, 5 to 15, and severe is more than 10.
No. Moderate is 5 to 12, and severe is more than 12. Okay. Can you tell me about the pathophysiology? What happens actually when there is mitral stenosis? What happened? Why we anesthesiologists have to be careful? What happened actually when there is mitral stenosis? What happened? Obstruction to the left atrial emptying. Next, what happened?
Then, ma'am, next there is the pressure build-up, backward pressure build-up in the pulmonary arteries, because of which there is pulmonary arterial hypertension, and this pressure can also be followed back into the right ventricle, and the cardiac output which is being produced is a fixed cardiac output which is being produced.
So ultimately, there will be decreased cardiac output and pulmonary hypertension, decreased lung compliance, and increased work of breathing. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You just tell me, in the mitral stenosis, suppose a patient, why there is why you should avoid tachycardia in case of a mitral stenosis?
We should avoid tachycardia, ma'am, because we should allow the diastolic phase to be prolonged so that there is proper emptying of the left atrium as much as possible. So if there is faster heart rate, then there will be reduced filling of the left ventricle, and cardiac output will be jeopardized even more. So that's why we should prevent the tachycardia.
Can you tell me what is the modified New York Association functional classification of the heart disease?
It is classified into four categories, where in class 1 there is no dyspnea, class 2 there is dyspnea with ordinary activity, class 3 there is dyspnea with more than ordinary activity, with less than ordinary activity, sorry, and in class 4 there is dyspnea at rest.
You can say symptomatic at rest. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Symptomatic at rest.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what are the predictor of the mortality and morbidity as for the severity of the MS of the NYHA class?
Ma'am, there are the predictors. There are four predictors which say that if there is cyanosis, or there is left ventricular failure, or if the mitral valve orifice is less than 1.5 centimeters square and the left ventricular ejection fraction is less than 30%, then these are supposed to be the serious predictors of mitral valve disease. If only one of the
yes, tell.
If two of the predictors are positive, if one of the predictor is positive, then around 5% hello. If one of the predictor is positive, then there is 5% increased morbidity. If two predictors are positive, it's almost 27% increased morbidity.
Okay. Can you tell me what are the atypical presentation of the mitral stenosis patient?
A typical presentation, ma'am, they can present with a stroke, if and also
One is a atypical angina, they can come. Do you know what is
Okay.
Ottner syndrome?
Yes, ma'am. Otter syndrome is hoarseness of the voice due to pressure on the recurrent laryngeal nerve due to the enlarged left atrium.
Anything else? What do you mean by the malar flaws?
What are the
Malar
other,
flaw-
Rashmi, what are the other atypical presentations of mitral stenosis?
So they can come with a TIA or a stroke. They can come with chest pain. They
Okay.
can come with bleeding, hemoptysis.
Hemoptysis. Okay.
Yes, very good.
Very good.
They can also come with
Malar flaws also. Okay.
malar
Dysphagia. No, with
disease.
with dysphagia and dysphonia also.
Yes, sir. With due to Ottner syndrome, dysphagia and dysphonia.
Now your patient has come to you. Okay. So,
Now, before, ma'am, I have two questions about history taking.
okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, madam, Rashmi, you have your chief complaint is on two, just leaking per vagina for 3 hours and
Yes, sir.
dyspnea for last 1 month. But you have omitted the pain in the lower abdomen. That is also a chief complaint. Patient having pain during, so that is also should be included in the chief complaint, I think.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
In summary, you have just have the patient came for the first time. There was no antenatal
No,
history.
there was antenatal. There was antenatal visits for this patient previously.
But you have not mentioned the antenatal history of the patient.
Sir, I mentioned in one line that the antenatal was otherwise uneventful. I did not mention the whole thing.
You have in summary you have mentioned it is a diagnosed case of mitral stenosis, but when it was diagnosed, it was not mentioned how it was diagnosed, what investigation you have done in the antenatal period, whether she was immunized or not. That is not mentioned in your history. That should be mentioned in your history.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. This patient has come to you. So what do you think? What investigation you should do? You forget about it has come for a cesarean section. For the emergency. Suppose a patient has come, a mitral stenosis patient has come for a routine checkup. What investigation you should do?
Ma'am, we will first go for the routine blood tests, the CBC, PTINR, LFT. These routine blood tests will have to be done. And then we'll go for ECG and echocardiography for this patient. Along with that, we will go for a tochocardiography of the fetus to check for the fetus situation.
Why you want to do it? Why you want to do PTINR in this case?
Sir, in case we want to give a so routinely nurse, if you are giving uraxial block, then we would like to check for PTINR.
In every patient you do PTINR, do a neuraxial block.
Sir, because this patient might later on need anticoagulation, so we would like to have a.
Why your patient doesn't have any atrial fibrillation?
If this patient has okay, if this patient has atrial fibrillation during anterior period, if someone gives anticoagulant warfarin or like that, then only you have to do PTINR. Otherwise, patient you have no atrial fibrillation, uncomplicated image, you don't require any PTINR.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And then other investigations.
So we'll do an ECG and an echocardiography for this patient to check for the latest status of the heart.
Now, this patient is pregnant. This patient is pregnant. What other test you want to do? It's not only mitral stenosis. This patient is also pregnancy added.
Yeah. So, sir, we'll do a CBC test, a complete blood count, to check for the hemoglobin status of this patient, and if required, we can do a random blood sugar for the and what else?
Urea creatinine, do you want to do?
Yeah, all routine investigation you will do. What is that? If the patient is not in cesarean section emergency, no problem. You have got facility, you can do it. Can you
Okay,
tell me,
sir.
Rashmi, what are the pulmonary changes you anticipate in case of a mitral stenosis patient? Forget about your patient. Generally, what are the pulmonary changes you apprehend?
Ma'am, in pulmonary changes,
In
firstly,
X-ray.
in X-ray, we can get an increased cardiothoracic ratio. We will see a mitralization of the left quarter of the heart due to the and
What
we
is
will
mitrilization? Rashmi, what is mitrilization?
thickening of the left quarter of the heart. We will be seeing,
Tightening.
and,
Okay.
there'll be fullness of the pulmonary bay. The aortic knuckle will be comparatively smaller, and there'll be pulmonary vessels will be enlarged, mostly toward the apical vessels. And in case if the patient already has heart failure, then we can also see the curly B lines which are present, or the batwing appearance in the X-ray.
Batwing is not there. There will be Carlis B line in the basal zone or mid zone. Basal
Yes,
or
sir.
mid zone, Carlis B line. You can get. What are the ECG changes in mitral stenosis?
Sir, in mitral stenosis, because we will be facing a left atrial enlargement mostly, so we will get bifid P waves in lead 2-3 AVF, and we will also get a right ventricular hypertrophy if the disease is much progressed. So, and we will also get a right axis deviation. Besides all of this, if there is presence of atrial fibrillation, then we might get that change also in the ECG.
So
Irregular.
there may be a F wave which will replace the P wave if atrial fibrillation will develop. Okay.
If atrial fibrillation, there will be irregular heart rate. There will be atrial rate will be 250 like that. Ventricular rate will be 150 like that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
What is it in the echocardiogram?
Ma'am, in the echocardiogram, we will get, firstly, we'll see the mitral orifice. There might be calcifications in the mitral orifice, and the vital orifice area will be reduced. There'll be increased LA pressure. There'll be the pulmonary arterial pressure will be raised, and there might be akinetic movements of the of the interventricular septal wall, and the right ventricular volume may be enlarged.
Why the interventricular akinetic? Why you are mentioning like that akinetic?
So I mean, sir, the because of hypertrophy, there might be like movement disorders of the.
No, movement is the interventricular septum may be pushed towards the left. If there is a RV systolic pressure is severely raised, then interventricular septum will be pushed towards the left. That is the finding if there is severe form of mitral stenosis. Otherwise, interventricular septum will be normal. If there is mild mitral stenosis, there will be no change.
Rashmi, what do you mean by the modified Dockett-Jones criteria for diagnosis rheumatic heart diseases?
So, ma'am, it consists of major criteria and minor criteria.
So, what are the major criteria?
Major criteria are carditis, Sydenham's chorea, subcutaneous nodules, and erythema marginatum. And besides this, we have minor criteria, which includes fever. And in major criteria, we also have arthralgia. And in minor criteria, we have fever, leukocytosis, azotitis.
Also, arthralgia will be also there. Yes. Then?
Yes, ma'am. In the major criteria, and in minor criteria,
in the laboratory, what you will see? There will be prolonged PR interval in the ECG.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. What are the essential criteria? Am I audible?
Like, yes, ma'am. 2 major criteria and 2 major criteria or 1 major and 2 minor criteria are required for the diagnosis of rheumatic heart disease.
So, what are the things you should do? Like ASO, what will be your ASO title?
ASO title will be more than 200.
250. What is that unit is called?
MI milli international units.
TODS units. Okay. Okay. Then TODS units also. Positive throat culture and anything else? If you have got, the patient will have recent scarlet fever. Okay. So what are the criteria? How you classify the criteria? So what are the things we'll do? 2 measure, /1 measure, or Two
and
minor.
minor.
Okay. Why does the pregnancy aggravate the symptoms of mitral stenosis? Why it occurs?
Ma'am, in pregnancy is a high cardiac output situation where there is around 30 to 35% increase in stroke volume and around 15 to 20% increase in the heart rate. So from 2020 during
What about the
pregnancy
blood
from
volume?
24,
What happened to the blood volume?
the blood volume increases by about 50 to 55%. So
30 to 50%.
what happens?
What happened to the SBR? What happened to the SBR?
The SVR, ma'am, reduces, but diastolic pressure reduces more than the systolic. Around 10 to 15% there is decrease in the diastolic pressure.
So this increased blood volume causes what?
Increased blood volume causes a hyperdynamic circulation.
No,
Increased
preload.
capillary hydrostatic pressure. That leads to pulmonary edema.
This also increases the preload. Also, there is hyperdynamic circulation. Also, there is tachycardia. These three factors aggravate the symptoms of mitral stenosis during pregnancy.
Okay. Anything else occurs? During labor and delivery, what happens?
Excuse me, madam. Just 1 second. Manavendra sir, can you please keep your microphone just in front of your mouth so that it will be visible clearly? একটু মুখের কাছে ধরে যদি করেন ক্লিয়ারলি শোনা যাবে।
শোনা যাচ্ছে না?
একটু মাঝে মাঝে কেটে যাচ্ছে।
ওকে।
হ্যাঁ, এবার শোনা যাচ্ছে।
শোনা যাচ্ছে? হ্যাঁ।
ওকে, কন্টিনিউ।
Tell me, why does the pregnancy aggravate the symptoms?
Ma'am, pregnancy aggravates the symptoms due to the hyperdynamic circulation, tachycardia, and the increased capillary hydrostatic pressure. But during labor, there is further increase in the cardiac output, and post-delivery within 1 hour, there is 80% increase in the cardiac output because the vasculature of the uterus is also shifted to the main systemic circulation. So
and also IVC compression is also there.
Ma'am, after delivery, compression reduces.
So Reshmi, when you anticipate the heart failure will occur in a case of mitral stenosis? When you expect
Hello? Sir, during pregnancy, pregnancy, there is maximum cardiac output in around 32 weeks. So
okay.
that is one time when there can be chances of heart failure if the patient is already severe mitral stenosis. And during labor or post delivery within 1 to 6 hours, that is the most critical period when the patient has maximum chances.
No, during the second stage and third stage of labor. Third stage of there is auto transfusion of 500 ml of blood during uterine contraction, during expulsion of the placenta. That is also a time that during patient may develop a frank heart failure.
Can you tell me when there is atrial enlargement in the pregnancy occurs, there is chances of atrial fibrillation occurs? Okay, am I right, Tasmi?
Yes, ma'am.
Same thing. If there is hypercoagulability, what are the risk occurs to the patient?
If there is hypercoagulability, ma'am, in that case, there can be embolus, which can
thromboembolic risk is there.
Risk will increase in such cases.
So when the patient with symptomatic status, how much increases by the 1 or 2 NYHA class? It increases more. Okay.
It usually increases 1 NYHA class.
Okay.
Reshmi, one question. I have one question. Suppose this patient has atrial fibrillation during antenatal period.
Yes,
what
sir.
will be your management?
So we'll have to give her drugs.
Your patient has no atrial fibrillation. I agree.
No, sir.
Suppose this patient. Suppose in another patient you get atrial fibrillation.
Yes, so we'll give her rate controlling drugs like beta blockers, calcium channel blockers. We'll give her drugs for thromboembolic prophylaxis, and we will also give her drugs to prevent in any case of LVF like digoxin. And
can you tell me what are the thromboembolic drugs we give, and which trimester, what drug given?
Which drug you give? Which trimester?
Ma'am, we'll give heparin from 1 to 12 weeks, low molecular weight heparin subcutaneously, after which we'll give warfarin up to a maximal dose of 5 milligrams till the 36 weeks. And after 36 weeks, we will again shift her over to low molecular weight heparin subcutaneously.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you tell me what are the
No,
hemodynamic
madam, I have one question. You have anticoagulation.
Yes,
any
sir.
other thing you can do in a case of atrial fibrillation?
Sir, rate
apart
limitation.
apart from anticoagulation or rate controlling drugs.
So we can give antiplatelets, but then in the first three months.
No. If the patient develops acute atrial fibrillation, as if there is hemodynamic disturbation,
we can go for cardioversion. If there is acute, we can go for cardioversion of this patient.
Cardioversion. What dose what joule you give in a cardioversion of atrial fibrillation? How much joule you give?
Ma'am, so 120 joules.
No. In bipolar, you give 50 joule. If patient convert
Okay,
into
sir.
a normal sinus rhythm, that is then okay. You before doing cardioversion, what precaution you should take, and what after that what precaution you should take before
Sir,
doing
I'm
cardioversion.
not very-
Before doing cardioversion, what precaution you should take?
Sir, I'm not very sure about this.
Okay.
Before doing precaution, you have to give anticoagulant for 3 weeks.
Okay, sir.
Also, if you do a echo and patient is having no clot, LA clot, you can do cardioversion acute in a emergency basis. If patient has no LA clot, if
sir.
there is LA clot, you have to give 3 weeks of anticoagulation, do a cardioversion, and give anticoagulation for 4 weeks after that, after cardioversion.
Okay, sir.
Okay. What should be a hemodynamic goals in a mitral stenosis?
Ma'am, for hemodynamic goals, we have to limit the heart rate of the patient. We have to take care that the systemic vascular resistance does not remains normal, and we have to check that there is
Not remains normal. We have to increase the SVR.
Should not be decreased.
Yeah.
And
then next, what about the blood volume?
Ma'am, the blood volume should not be raised more.
Okay.
And venous return should be adequate to the heart.
Okay.
And if there is any abnormality in the rhythm of the heart rate rhythm, then we have to bring it back to sinus rhythm.
Why tachycardia is detrimental to the patient?
Ma'am, tachycardia will reduce diastolic filling.
If increased heart rate, that leads to decreased
reduced
diastolic
time.
Then what about the flow?
The cardiac output will reduce for that. So we will have to.
Let's be here. I want to add something. Tachycardia. What tachycardia causes in a case of mitral stenosis? It causes transvalvular pressure gradient is increased, severely increased in tachycardia. How it increased? In tachycardia, the pressure gradient is dependent on flow. If flow is square of the flow. If flow increases two times, that transvalvular gradient will be increased.
Pressure also increases.
Yeah, pressure also increases 4 times. It is the square of the flow. Tachycardia increases transvalvular flow.
Pressure also increases.
Left atrial pressure will be increased severely. Yeah, that will
leads to pulmonary edema.
That will increase to back pressure, and the patient may develop pulmonary edema, frank pulmonary edema. So tachycardia at all costs should be checked in a case of mitral stenosis in a pregnant patient.
What should be your therapeutic approach?
Ma'am, we will therapeutic. If the patient has come for emergency LSCS, we will first we will check for the fetal heart rate and the fetal condition. If the fetus is going into bradycardia and the fetal condition is compromised, then we'll go for general anesthesia. And if we have time and the fetus is not deteriorating, then we can go for neuraxial anesthesia, regional blocks.
No, see, the patient, suppose antenatally the patient has come to you. I'm not talking about the patient. Suppose, theoretically, I'm asking you, antenatally the patient, what are the therapeutic approach you should do? And which month, what you should do? Like 3 to 5 months, suppose pregnancy, what are the things you should do? Could you understand?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. The first echo for this patient should be done at 3 months, and then at 5 months the echo should be repeated. In case we see a deterioration, it has to be repeated every month.
Okay.
And besides that, we'll check for the she has to account for monthly antenatal visits, and we will check for her vitals. We will see if her heart rate is increasing. In that case, we'll give her beta blockers, and we will check with her ECG findings. We'll see if there is any fibrillation. So in that case, we can give her anticoagulants, and if she's having failure-like symptoms, or if her dyspnea is aggravating, then we can give her diuretics. And
No, no. See, suppose the patient.
I want to add some points here. If the patient is diagnosed as case of mitral stenosis and patient conceived, at any point you can ask the patient to do a BMB, balloon mitral valvotomy.
BMG or BMB. You can
That is the ideal. Don't ask
That
the
is
patient to
enough.
continue the pregnancy.
How much
BNB
we should do?
ma'am, after 20 weeks, we can go for a transcript.
BM is transcriptus, but you can do at any weeks of the pregnancy. It's not that you have to do a second trimester or not.
Okay.
BMB can be done in any weeks because it's a transcutaneous procedure. It is nothing else. Only one complication that patient may develop acute mitral regurgitation. That is a dreadful complications. Otherwise, if the facility is not available, then what you can do in a pregnant patient with mitral stenosis?
Then, sir, there are other methods of other surgical methods like commissurotomy can be done, but that again can lead to increased fetal losses.
Now, what commissurotomy? What specific operation? You name this operation?
But open commissurotomy.
No. Close mitral valvotomy.
CMC is done.
CMV is very commonly done previously. Very.
That is in the developing countries.
In developing countries, this is the most common operation. Now they are doing BMB because where facility is not available, CMB is the recommendation. It should be done in the second trimester, not in the first trimester. Okay, it should be done in the second trimester. Okay, if the patient is not unattended, he's not it's not operated, then patient come with the mitral stenosis with pregnancy. If facility available, we should advise them for BMB or CMB.
Surgical.
Okay.
So now your patient has come. What should be your anesthetic management principles?
Now your patient has anemia with pregnancy with mitral stenosis. What is the grade of your mitral stenosis of your patient? You have not mentioned what is the echo finding, what is the routine blood test finding. Anything you have not mentioned in your history taking. What was the hemoglobin? What was the finding?
Sir, I have not mentioned the investigations.
You have omitted your investigation. You should tell. Then you can grade your patient according to your investigation. Then you can plan your operation like that. Your anesthetic plan. Everything depends on your patient's status. What was it by blood? By routine blood count, CBC.
So CBC, the hemoglobin was roughly around 10.5, and there was mild leukocytosis of around 11 to 12,000, and there was the platelet count was normal. The indices were showed the blood indices, they showed anemia.
10.5. This is physiological anemia.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what are the echo finding?
Sir, in echo, we had found the mitral orifice to be around 1.5 centimeter square, and the pulmonary arterial pressure to be around 30, and
30.
the end-diastolic gradient to be around 5. 5.
5. So it is a mild case of mitral stenosis with pregnancy.
Yes, sir.
With mild anemia. With mild anemia. Okay.
Physiological anemia.
So what will be your anesthetic plan in this patient? What will be anesthetic concern, anesthetic plan? First tell your anesthetic concern in this patient. This is valvular heart disease with pregnancy. What is your anesthetic concern? What is your goal, anesthetic goal? And then your anesthetic plan.
Sir, our anesthetic goal will be that we will avoid tachycardia in this patient as much as possible. We will avoid decreased SVR, systemic vascular resistance, as much as possible, and we will keep the patient in a 15 degrees tilted position to the 15 degrees left lateral tilt position, so that there is adequate venous return. And we will avoid any kind of stress which will lead her into fibrillation or any and another concern will be our fetal concern, where we will have to check first whether the fetus is going into bradycardia, or we still have some time. So if the fetus deteriorates and goes into bradycardia, in that case we will shift to GA, and if we still have time, then we'll go for regional anesthesia.
What about the fluid management? Will you not take care of the fluid management?
Fluid management will have to be judicial fluid management, ma'am. We will not give excess amount of fluids, and we will keep on checking the bases of the lungs for crepitations or any changes which are coming up, and accordingly we will titrate the fluid amount and give.
No. You will titrate your fluid by ausculting the basal cavitation. No. How will titrate your fluid? How will titrate your fluid? When your basal cavitation appears, patient is already having pulmonary edema. It is too late to titrate your fluid. When you will titrate, how will you titrate your fluid?
So we'll not give. It will be given in very small. We will not give any bolus doses of fluid to this patient. Very minimal amount of fluid has to.
How can you tell that I'll give minimal amount of fluid to a cesarean section?
Well, what is your fasting guideline in this patient? He is already 6 hours in fasting.
Yes, sir.
What is the fasting guideline in a pregnant patient?
So the patient in a pregnant patient, sir, she can have solid foods like up to 8 hours, and she can have oral water even up to 2 hours before surgery.
Clear fluid up to you can give. But that is not clearly mentioned. There is a doubt about that. There is a controversy. Up to 4 hours you can give before operation. Solid food should be given at least 8 hours before operation.
And any pregnant patients, we'll consider them to be full stomach.
Anyway,
so we will give them medicines we'll give them H2 blockers before the OT, IV ranitidine, and orally we'll give them antacids, sodium citrate, non-particulate sodium citrate, 0.3 molar.
Before that, we are coming that. What is your anesthetic plan in this patient? Your patient is anemic and mitral stenosis patient with in labor posted for LUCS, emergency LUCS. What is your anesthetic plan? What is your option and what is your plan? What do you choose? What plan you will choose?
So we can go for.
What are the options you have? Tell me what are the options you have in this case.
In regional, we can go for combined spinal epidural.
I can hear you clearly.
Hello?
Please repeat. Yeah, please repeat.
Sir, in regional, we can go for combined spinal epidural, or we can go for graded epidural anesthesia. And in case of, or if we are going for or we can go for general anesthesia if the fetus is deteriorating rapidly.
So in your case, the fetal heart rate is 140. There is no fetal distress.
So there is
no fetal distress. Okay. Also, patient is the early stage of first stage of labor. Okay, you have time. You have time to insert a epidural catheter. Then among these, what method you will choose? You have mentioned three.
So I will go for
I can hear you.
So I'll go for combined spinal. Hello, sir. I can hear you. Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
So I will go for combined spinal epidural, so that later on we also have chances for giving analgesia to this patient after surgery also.
Tell me how you will give combined spinal MBC, spinal epidural. What will be your dose for spinal? What will be your epidural doses?
So we will first introduce the epidural needle, and
So
through
you will
it
not
we
give
will use
any. Just a minute, trust me. Before that, you will not give. Huh?
local
No,
anesthesia.
no. No, pre-hydration you will not give to this patient. You will give some fluid, no?
Yeah, see, Rosmi has already said how much fluid you will give in this patient.
So we will not give any bolus doses of fluid.
Only maintenance fluid. You just tell me what is the maintenance fluid? What is the maintenance fluid of a patient?
We'll give starter on the lactate solution, and we'll
Maintain. What is the maintenance? What is the rate of maintenance fluid? Rashmi? How much maintenance fluid do we require?
How much we give?
Madam is asking about and sir is asking
4
about the
ml per
formula.
kg per hour. For the
Yes, 4 ml per kg per hour. That
yes,
is
sir, 4 ml per kg per hour for the first 10 kgs.
10 kg.
Yes.
Then
2 ml per kg for the next 10 kgs plus the lastly it is 1 ml per kg for every kg.
okay. Don't give any excess about
Okay.
above that.
Why this?
Okay,
No,
sir
I mean,
has
makes me. My question is you have chosen first combined spinal epidural in this case.
Yes, sir.
You have inserted a epidural needle and you are giving it epidural catheter. In spinal, in subarachnoid dose, what drug you will give and what is
How
the
much?
dosage? What is the
Give,
dosage?
0.5% bupivacaine heavy and at a dose of around 1 ml to 1.5 ml in the
1.5.
1 ml will be sufficient for this patient.
1
We'll
ml
give
is
it
how much milligram? 1 ml is how much milligram?
0.5 milligram.
1 ml is how much milligram? Just tell me.
total ample is how much?
1 ml contains how much drug? 1 ml.
Every
Total
day
food-
you are using, huh?
Total
Every
ampoule
ml
contains how much drug? Total ampoule
2.5 2.5
Total-
milligrams.
2.5 milligram. Okay, you can say it is 1.25 to 2.5 milligram maximum. Then other drug? Only
And
one drug,
sir,
only single drug. Only single drug.
we can add fentanyl to this around 20 to 50 micrograms of fentanyl.
You
If-
must have to add fentanyl because the patient is already in active labor having pain. Already having pain, so you have to give some opioid, intrathecal opioid, so that the pain subsides very rapidly. And
Yes, sir.
then you have introducing the epidural catheter. What drug
Yes,
you will
sir.
give through the epidural catheter and how much? And
Sir,
after
we will
after
give
giving spinal,
bupivacaine.
in what concentration and what
So
dose?
we will wait we will give bupivacaine via the epidural catheter 0.125% at a rate of around 4 to 5 ml per hour, and constantly we'll be measuring the vitals of this patient and check whether there is any deterioration in the systemic vascular resistance or not, and accordingly we'll be
No, this patient is posted for cesarean section. You are not doing labor analgesia.
You are not giving the labor.
You are not giving labor analgesia. Mind that. This patient is posted for cesarean section. You have to give epidural anesthesia.
You can give combined. You are why you will prefer?
Ma'am, because in this combined process we can also continue with the analgesia post-operatively also.
Okay, no problem.
No problem. You are giving it dose is 0.125. That is not recommended for epidural anesthesia because this person is posted for cesarean section. You are giving very diluted bupivacaine. That will not do.
Intrathecal amount of bupivacaine, will that not be sufficient for
you are giving very minimum amount of bupivacaine intrathecally. That will not reach up to T4 level. To do a cesarean section, you have to make anesthesia for T4 level. That is also recommended. T4 anesthesia.
Because they are putting all the tetras, no? So that will create a pain.
Or their guard, they are moving the guard, they are manipulating the guard. So your analgesia level will be at least T4 level. So you are giving 0.125% bupivacaine through epidural catheter. That will not do spread like that. That will not. That will also give just labor analgesia. That is dose of labor analgesia. This patient is posted for emergency LUCS. You can't do a labor analgesia in this patient. That's true. What dose you will give and how? How will make this patient epidural active? What is the concentration of dose for epidural recommended? Epidural anesthesia.
0.
0 point for bupivacaine or ropivacaine?
Sir, bupivacaine 0.6 to 5. I don't remember. 0.6 to 5.
No.
Are you giving the cases here in the cesarean patient MS you are giving, na?
In cesarean is recommended. Epidural analgesia is recommended.
Yes, sir.
What is the concentration of bupivacaine we give for epidural analgesia?
So for epidural analgesia, for like labor analgesia, we'll give 0.125% only.
No. We give 0.5%. That will be given in divided doses because we don't want sympatholysis in this patient. If there is a sudden sympatholysis, the reduced ASDR, the BP will fall suddenly. There will be vital proton perfusion.
So that is along with the interthree. Hello, that 0.5%.
You can. Yes. This patient is having pain. You have to reduce the pain. Also, epidural will act after some time. To act faster, you give combined spinal epidural. You give 1.25 milligram of bupivacaine. That is very less amount of bupivacaine, and give 25 microgram of fentanyl. That will relieve the pain immediately. And you insert the epidural catheter. Epidural analgesia will take some time. It will take at least 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
You give divided doses of 0.5 milligram percent of bupivacaine. This is one method. Other method is you only give epidural catheter and give 0.5% bupivacaine. Give it divided doses, 5 ml at a time, and see the level of your block. How much the level of the
graded
epidural.
So that the sympatholysis is very less. There is no sudden sympatholysis. We don't want sudden sympatholysis in this patient. So we give graded epidural and divided dose of 5 ml at a time, and wait for 5 to 10 minutes. See the level of your block. If it is a T10, you give some amount more, and you wait for 5 to 10 minutes. You see the level. When the level reaches T6, you allow the surgeon to draping and dressing and proceed for surgery. But by the time the T4 level will be reached. Okay. For epidural analgesia, you require 0.5% bupivacaine. But if you want to do epidural labor analgesia, then your dose is 0.125%. Or 0.062%.
In labor analgesia, you also add fentanyl. Okay.
Yeah, also fentanyl. Also, in this case, you can add fentanyl also. In epidural analgesia, you will give divided doses of 0.5% bupivacaine. Also add fentanyl 2 microgram per ml concentration. At least 50 to 100 microgram you can add through bupivacaine.
Can you tell me what are the controversy about the combined spinal epidural?
So, ma'am, controversies about this, like the epidural catheter can get inserted intradural, like in the subarachnoid space by mistake, and then also be if we are not very careful, then there can be flow of CSF coming out through the a lot more amount of CSF can be coming out through the epidural.
And there may be chances of neurotrauma also. Okay.
Yes.
What are the contraindication to regional anesthesia?
First contraindication is always patient consent. If the patient does not consent for regional anesthesia, we cannot go for it. Then any kind of bleeding diathesis, which if present in a patient, any local infection if present, and
any health syndrome.
Platelet count is less.
platelet
count
count
is less,
and
or
any
if
sepsis also, systemic sepsis.
or if there is any intracranial pressure is raised, in that case
Raised.
also you don't give epidural.
What are the guidelines for the general anesthesia?
No, SB, do you prefer this case to be done under GA? In your case?
So any case of pregnancy done under GA is always a high risk case.
Why?
But if the
Why?
Sir, because pregnancy the airway is mostly difficult, and there are always chances of aspiration in these kind of patients.
Why air is difficult? Just
So,
clarify.
airway is difficult. Yes, sir. The airway is mostly difficult because of the hormones. The pharyngeal mucosa and all are edematous. So there are more chances of injury, and also because of the heavy breasts, there is patients are mostly obese than their usual stature, and heavy breasts
And
are
the
also an
difficult-
indicator for difficult intubation.
So which blade you should use if in case of this patient?
Something change in the handle.
A video
your
like
hand. No,
Don't go for video laryngoscope.
You
With
have
a
to change your
laryngoscope, the handle should be long or short or normal. Long handle.
short
long-
handle. No, short
Short
handle.
handle.
You have to have
Short
short
handle.
handle. Short handle.
Okay. Short handle. Okay.
Oh,
Then
what
less space will be there.
what is the size of endotracheal tube in this case?
It can also a size of around 6.5 centimeters also can be used.
No,
Uh,
it should be use one size less than the normal size, normal required size, because of the
Minimum-
edema of the. Hello.
So the minimum size can go up to 6.5 also if the case it is a difficult intubation.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
tell me, what are the guidelines for the general anesthesia if you are going to give a patient of the mitral stenosis patient?
This patient posted you are planned for the GA. How will proceed?
So what should be in your mind? I will do this, like you have told me, heart rate causes problem. So I will maintain my heart rate. Next.
What monitor
So,
you use?
ma'am, next
What
I will make.
What monitor you use in this case?
We'll first attach all the standard monitors, like we'll attach the monitors for the blood pressure, pulse rate, SpO2. Then we will attach the capnograph monitor, and to maintain, if needed, if it is a case of severe mitral stenosis, then we can also have a TE in place. And
T, whatever. I can hear you.
transesophageal echocardiogram. The transesophageal
T.
echocardio.
T is not recommended. Then other.
So
Other.
the BIS monitor to check for the depth of the anesthesia, and
Oh, no.
so we can put an IBP line, arterial line, to check
Arterial
for
line. You
the
give the arterial line.
pressure, and a CVP monitor to check for the
CB monitor.
like
Okay.
central venous pressure. Yes, sir. And
Central venous pressure, okay.
and
This
sir,
is a 45
catheter
minutes.
is always
The
done in
hardly
case
cesarean
of cesarean section.
See, Rasmi, be practical. It hardly cesarean takes hardly 25 minutes. Huh? For that, why you will do such invasive this thing? Unless the patient is that critical, that we have to give the fluid.
Exactly. When you will require these invasive monitors?
Because
in
your
which patient?
patient is very
So,
jolly.
patient
well
is-
In which patient? Just mention. Hello.
Sir, in severe MS cases,
No,
or
you just
the patient
classify.
has a very high pulmonary hypertension.
You just
Sir,
mention
in
some
serious
level.
MS case,
We just mention the pulmonary
so
hypertension
when,
level. Hello.
so when it is more than 50 meters of mercury, the pulmonary hypertension, the lead ventricle,
left ventricle. Hello.
so the left ventricular ejection fraction when less than 30, and pulmonary hypertension is more than 50 to. So in cases of severe and the
No. Rashmi, what is the conception is that the left ventricular ejection fraction is not much reduced. What is reduced is the right ventricular performance, right ventricular dysfunction in this patient. The ventricle that is mostly affected is right ventricle. So severity is judged by which parameters?
Severity is judged by the mitral valve orifice. Then the mitral valve orifice, the pulmonary arterial pressure.
No, that is the anatomical. The other things that our working.
Pulmonary arterial pressure.
What is the level? What is the level?
So more than 50 millimeters of mercury.
No, it is more than 75. It is more than 75. Is the right ventricular systolic pressure is more than 75. Also, there is right ventricular dysfunction. That is, right ventricular output is reduced. That is, ejection fraction is reduced. In that case, also the interventricular septum is shifted to the left. These are the signs of the severe mitral
Left
stenosis.
side.
Those are the signs of severe mitral stenosis. In those cases, you have to put some invasive monitors. You have to arterial line. You have to CVP. You may have to put some pulmonary artery catheter also to know the cardiac output by thermodilation technique. In those severe cases, in your cases, your arterial monitor or not required. Your patient was not dyspnea at all. Okay. Then carry on. You have applied your monitors. Then how will proceed with the GA?
So for the GA, we'll give induction agent. I'll prefer etomidate because it is more cardiostable.
Before that you have to give some.
We'll give
aspiration prophylaxis.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Aspiration prophylaxis. We'll give. Sodium citrate orally. Yes, or we'll give sodium citrate orally and IV ranitidine.
How much sodium citrate?
15 ml of non-particulate sodium citrate, around 0.3 molar. We'll give that orally, and then we'll give IV ranitidine 50 milligrams, and IV metoclopramide 10 milligrams can be given to increase the motility of the gut.
Okay.
After that, we will put the patient on IV infusion of ringalactate fluid, slow infusion, and then we will go for induction of this patient. We'll start with induction agents. Etomidate will be preferred.
Yeah.
Acha, will you just a minute? Should you give any other drug to prevent tachycardia?
Yes, ma'am. We can give beta blockers to prevent tachycardia.
Which beta blocker? Which beta blocker?
Esmolol, metoprolol. These.
You have to give short acting, not metoprolol.
Selective beta 1 blockers.
Yeah, you have to give short acting. That is esmolol. During OT, you have to give short acting.
We'll give.
Okay.
But only problem with the esmolol is that there is also fetal bradycardia sometimes occurs.
Sometimes because it crosses placenta. Beta blockers crosses placenta.
Okay. So when you are giving a esmolol, fetal heart rate should be monitored. Okay. Anyway, carry on. Next.
Carry on.
So how will you induce with etomidate? Okay.
Etomidate.
Next.
What is the dose of etomidate?
So 0.6 milligrams per kg. With a dose we'll induce, and then we'll also give fentanyl at a dose of 1 micrograms per kg body weight.
Fentanyl before delivery of the fetus. Before delivery of the fetus, you give fentanyl.
Will be low, sir, to reduce the pain, like less than 1 microgram per kg. It does not have.
Yes, you can give, but you have to make the pediatrician ready for any
for resuscitation or
any because if there will be less Apgar score. Okay.
Okay.
Then.
So your intubation strategy. What is your intubation strategy?
It will be a rapid sequence intubation
for
this patient.
So before giving inducing drug
will prefer.
Before giving the drugs, we have to give Selic maneuver to this patient.
Yeah.
That has maintained till the patient. The maneuver has to be maintained till the patient is being intubated and the cuff is being inflated. It
What
has to be
muscle
maintained.
relaxant you will give?
Ma'am, I will prefer rocuronium or vecuronium. Because we are doing a rapid sequence intubation, I'll go for rocuronium.
How much dose you will give? How much?
Ma'am, 0.6 to 0.8 milligrams per kg body weight.
For rapid sequence,
one vial contains how much milligram?
50 milligrams. 50 milligrams will give.
Generally, with 40 milligrams, the patient is okay. 40 is patient or 50 can chalo. How much is the duration remains for the rocuronium?
Ma'am, 30 to 35, 45 minutes
30 to 45 minutes.
before we repeat the dose.
Okay.
And
okay, no, recipe, okay,
sir,
okay. Oh, I have some question here. Suppose you have induced the patient with rocuronium, no, you have with some intermediate, and you have given relaxant. You can't intubate the patient in the first chance, and also you are maintaining back ventilation with the patient, and the ventilation is okay. Now, how you will proceed after that? You have failed. You are in your first attempt to intubate the patient. You have given relaxant and inducing dose of intermediate. Then how will you proceed?
Sir, first though we call for help for this, and then we will take a second chance at intubation. And if we are not being able to
before that you have not said that you have difficult aerobic card, etc. You have the drugs. You have not mentioned like that before. You should have difficult aerobic card also before doing the GA.
See, if suppose is a obese lady and all short neck, you have to be very anticipate and you have to
anticipate, and you have to previously you have to arrange everything.
What's your malampati? What was your malampati of the patient?
It was two, I think. Two.
This patient did not have any difficulty.
I have given a virtual case. I have given a virtual case to her. Then you have to call for help. Then you do for call for help. Then.
So then we go for a second attempt at intubation.
With intubation with the same blade and same laryngoscope.
No, sir. With a video laryngoscope.
Okay.
We will go for the next attempt. And,
okay.
Excuse me. And if we are not able to intubate, then in that case we'll go for an LMA, introduction of a second generation LMA, through which we will be putting in the trials tube for suction of the stomach.
No, you have given the aspiration prophylaxis. It's not needed. Is there? Okay, you have LMA. Then you proceed. Then you check what you will check after putting LMA.
And we'll ask for the
after putting LMA, what you will check? You have put a LMA in this patient after the second attempt failed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then what you will check with the LMA?
We'll check adequate ventilation of this patient.
Yes, you will always check whether ventilation is adequate or not. That is most important thing, because any jeopardized fetal may be jeopardized if ventilation is not adequate. Then. And
then we'll check for the ventilation of this patient is adequate or not by by bilateral auscultation and capnometry.
Yes.
And
then if it is adequate, suppose it is adequate, then.
So then we will continue. Ask the surgeon to continue with the.
You ask the surgeon to continue with this. If there is risk of aspiration, then suppose the patient is obese, patient has risk of aspiration, then you will continue. Ask the surgeon to continue with the LMA.
If her sir, her membranes are already ruptured and she's already having light. In case if the fetus is in distress, then in that case, then
so
in
that is fetal emergency. If there is fetal emergency, then what you will do?
If there is no fetal emergency, sir, then we can go for fiber optic intubation.
That will take time. That will take time. In this emergency situation, you cannot do FOB. Very take time.
We can go for a cricothyroidotomy.
Now, why you will do? When you will do cricothyroidotomy? When you will do?
So, in a case of cannot ventilate, cannot intubate situation, then we will go for a cricothyroidotomy.
Also, you have put the LMA. You cannot ventilate with the LMA. That is also emergency. You have to give cricothyroidotomy. Tell me how you will do a cricothyroidotomy in this patient? Cricothyroidotomy.
So
emergency cricothyroidotomy.
So we can do a we will palpate the cricothyroid membrane.
You must know this. You must know. Otherwise, you cannot save the patient.
Cricothyroid membrane,
Yeah.
and then we will put an incision. We can do a scalpel bougie method of the cricothyroid.
Yeah.
Cricothyroid.
Very good. Very good. Scalpel bougie and tube. Okay.
Yes, sir. And
Yeah.
we will put a vertical incision, and then we will with the scalpel, and
A
then we
scalpel?
will
Handle. You
Yes.
have to handle. You have to rotate the
we'll
incision
rotate
line.
the scalpel by
Ah.
90 degrees,
Yes.
and then we'll insert the bougie,
Bougie
and
and through
keep the bougie in.
and through bougie you
We'll
railroad
put a
the
6
Okay.
millimeter size
endothelial tube. Okay. Wait.
Tube.
Okay. Okay.
Rasmi, suppose the baby is out, you have intubated the patient. Will you give nitrous oxide to this patient?
No, ma'am. For any cardiac diseases, we will not give nitrous oxide to the patient because it enhances the pulmonary arterial hypertension by causing pulmonary vascular.
Okay.
Will you give any
Constriction.
inhalation?
You give inhalation in this patient.
Inhalational agent, sir, I will prefer to give sevoflurane because the other sevoflurane will be preferred for this patient with a MAC value of less than 1.
Okay. Now your baby is out. So the uterus is not contracting. What you will give, and if you give, what problem you will anticipate?
There is uterus
Sir,
uterine
ma'am.
atony.
Yes, sir.
Patient-
So, sir,
patient-
we'll give oxytocin infusion. Oxytocin will be given in infusion. We will avoid any kind of bolus doses, and like 10 units of oxytocin in 1 liter of NS. We will start that over, and we'll give it over 1 to 2 hours, and that it might lead to hypotension. So we should be ready with phenylephrine and give it in less bolus doses by checking the systemic vascular resistance, like checking the blood pressure at a time. And in case it does not suffice, then we will move on to other medications like methergine. Again, methergine.
No,
Resmi-
see,
Resmi,
methergine is can't
you
give.
give
Methergine.
No, not at all.
Methergine or prostaglandin, these all are problematic
All
to the
problematic.
microcirrhosis patient.
You cannot
You
give.
cannot give. With
Cannot
that
give.
same syntocin, low
But
dose
sir,
you can. See,
But sir, if
methergine,
oxytocin does
see, all the methyl ergometrine or the prostaglandin, all they causes severe hypertension, tachycardia, and increased pulmonary vascular resistance. All these things they cause. So you have to be very careful. So with that syntocinon, you will give, but you have to give in a titrable dose. You have to give, and you have to be very careful because there is a drop in cardiac output occurs. So you have to be very careful.
Ma'am, I have a question, ma'am. Can I ask?
Yes. Tell.
Ma'am, if oxytocin does not suffice, then what do we do? Because methergine and prostaglandin, these are all harmful. So in that case, what do we go for?
No, if you give, then you have to be careful. Suppose oxytocin does not work. Suppose you are going for a other thing, that a complication, you have to be prepared. Then you'll ask me whether
If there is pulmonary hypertension, you have to give nitroglycerin also in pulmonary vasodilation. You have to add some other
you
drugs.
know milrinone. What is the role of
Milrinone.
milrinone?
You have to give milrinone, nitroglycerin infusion.
Dilation.
Yeah.
To reduce the pulmonary
Arterial dilator.
No.
Pulmonary,
Nitroglycerin is vasodilator, mainly vasodilator, not arterial dilator.
Sir, talk about milrinone. Nitroglycerin
Milrinone
is dilator.
inodilator.
Milrinone is more of an arterial.
But in case of severe
Okay.
pulmonary hypertension, you have to give milrinone. If there is severe pulmonary hypertension,
Okay, sir.
patient develop. Okay.
What is the advantage of GA?
Advantages of GA, it can the systemic vascular resistance can be more controlled in case of GA patient.
See, because it is a
And,
rapid established. It is you can very jolly well, very fast you can give. Then anything else? better hemodynamic stability, no? And
Better hemodynamic, like the BP and blood pressure can be more better monitored in case of a general anesthesia.
and your ventilation is controlled, so there will be avoid hypercarbia. That is also important. And anything else? The patient, what happened to the pregnant patient? FRC. FRC is
Reduced in case of pregnancy.
with a controlled ventilation, what will happen?
Ventilation we can
Improve.
with a the
Controlled
basal
ventilation is
atelectasis
FRC.
can be stopped.
Yes.
Improved. Yeah, the ventilation will be improved.
So there will be better when VQ is there will be better VQ, no? There will be better VQ.
Yes.
But
Okay.
GA has more deleterious effect both to the fetus and to the mother. So new recommendation is always go for regional anesthesia unless it is a
See, what are the deleterious effect? You tell me. Number one, failed intubation. Number two,
Aspiration. Risk of aspiration.
number
aspiration.
3, hypertensive crisis.
Fetal bradycardia
yes.
and fetal
Neonatal depression.
deterioration.
Anything else? Arrhythmia may occur because of the hypoxia or hypercarbia or any inhalation agent things. Anything else? Anything else?
What about the fetal?
So fetal depression. There might be fetal depression because of the inhalation agents and
fetal neurobehavioral
and post-op analgesia is, see, post-op analgesia is more required in case of the GA, no? Because epidural, you are giving the epidural catheter there we can give. So post-op analgesia is more, chances of vomiting is more. That's why all the problems with the GA, no? That's why we never wanted a uterine atony, the complication which I told you. Suppose there will be uterine atony. So inhalation agent, previously used to give the halothane. So halothane, there will be severe PPH used to occur. Luckily, we have now very good inhalation agents like sevoflurane or whatever. Would you understand? These are the, so that's why no, that's why we avoid nowadays. We try to give the regional block unless and until it is required. Okay. Okay. Anything else? How you manage your patient operation is over, baby is out. Now what post-op analgesia I will give to this patient?
So, ma'am, post-op analgesia, we can go for a regional block. Like if the patient is in GA, we can go for a TAP block for this patient.
Okay, not bad idea. Okay. Good.
And IV paracetamol can be given to this patient.
Okay.
And
Reshmi, how long the TAP block will last? You have to give bilateral TAP block. You have to give bilateral TAP block.
20 ml if we give on either side, it will last almost around 8 hours.
Yeah.
8 to 12 hours. 8
to 12 hours. Maximum 8 to 12 hours. Then you have to give other. You have to add some other things.
Should you give direct or by ultrasound guided?
Ma'am, both methods can be used, but like direct, if we give by a 2-pop technique, and if we are giving ultrasound guided, we can give it under vision.
USG guided is very preferred. Direct make your effect may not be. There is chance of failure. Severe chances of failure.
Yes.
Other modalities.
Paracetamol can be given 1 gram TDS to this patient, and very low dose opioids can be given if the patient does not have severe MS or any severe symptoms. Then we can give very low dose opioids.
Can't you give PCA, patient control analgesia in this patient? In your patient? PCA pump?
Can give some, but then if she is in the ward, the monitoring may not be adequate. So
that you have to ensure that you can give. You can't refuse the patient to a PCA pump because of the monitoring. You have to assure that. Other modality you can use PCA pump also in this patient. You have to say TAP block. You have to say paracetamol. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Anything else?
Yeah, I think you have covered all. Now, if you have given a epidural, if you have given epidural analgesia, then how will manage the post-op analgesia? Suppose you have chosen epidural analgesia. In your case, you have chosen like that. Then how will proceed with your post-op analgesia in this case?
So post-operatively, we'll give her the epidural. We can give ropivacaine or bupivacaine along with very low dose of fentanyl in the mixture,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
can give it at a rate of around 4 to 5 ml per hour rate.
Yeah.
And we have to keep checking her vitals, and if
Now,
that
what is the
is not
concentration? What is the
sufficient,
concentration? What is the concentration of the ropivacaine or bupivacaine?
so ropivacaine, sir, we can give 0.2% ropin
Yeah.
along with around 100 micrograms of fentanyl.
That it
So-
should be 2 mics per ml. That is the concentration. You give 4 to 6 ml per hour infusion. Per hour infusion
Yes, sir.
through elastomeric.
We keep the for around 48 hours and then we remove it.
Okay. Then remove it.
Yes, sir.
Suppose this
Can you
patient
tell?
suppose this
Yes.
patient have some platelet count is less than 50,000 or say, then what is your recommendation about regional anesthesia? Less than 75,000.
Sir, up to 50,000 we can wait. If the patient does not have any bleeding diathesis, does not have any bleeding manifestations, then sir, we can wait. Like we can remove the catheter. 50,000.
What is the ASTRA guideline when you are
Exactly. I am asking ASTRA guideline.
What is the ASTRA guideline? Suppose you are giving a low dose, like enoxaparin, you are giving a enoxaparin, suppose 0.5 milligram per kg, or
Yes,
this
ma'am.
dalaparin 120 microgram per kg you have given 12 hourly. So what are the neuroxin
we have-
placement consideration?
So, ma'am, before removal of the catheter, in that case, we have to.
Neurocell placement is 10 to 12 hours after the lower molecular weight dose. So after the placement, what you should do?
After
Sir,
the placement,
ma'am, after the placement, before we want to remove the catheter, we have to stop the
after
medicine for 12.
See, after the placement, first dose is 6 to
Start.
8 hours. Then second dose is 24 hours after the first dose.
24 hours after the first dose.
Then after removal of?
Then, ma'am, after removal of the catheter, 6 to 8 hours we wait before giving the next dose of the.
no, what is the recommendation for low molecular heparin? After removal of catheter, when you will give low molecular heparin?
Minimum is 2 hours.
The new recommendation is the 4 hours. That is,
4
they have
hours. Now
updated,
they have gone to 4 hours.
They have updated. It is 4 hours. You have to give after
Yes.
4 hours after
Okay.
removal of the catheter. Okay. If
Okay,
it's unfractionated heparin,
2 hours. I'm not
it is
very
1
sure
hour.
of
It
the
is after
guidelines.
1 hour. 1 hour after
2 hours.
removal of the catheter. Okay. Any other question, ma'am?
So I think she is exhausted. No?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exhausted. After 1.5 hours.
So Reshmi have answered almost all the
questions.
questions.
Very good. Very good.
Yes, a very good performance from Reshmi. And so this we have a very good discussion. I think we have covered all the aspects. We
More or
have
less,
covered
more or-
pre-operative management, intraoperative management, post-operative management, and post-operative analgesia. I think we have discussed everything. So it's almost 1 hour and 30 minutes, 28
Actually,
minutes
I
to be
was
precise.
thinking of Rasmi giving you few ECG slides of slides there to give the mitral stenosis and echo findings you see and diagnose and pulmonary findings. Then I don't know. I must take the permission from the organizers, because I was planning to give. This is the X-ray pictures of a mitral stenosis. What you are diagnosing? Okay, so that it could have been
If you-
easier. Okay.
So it would be then it could be far more interesting, madam.
Yeah, that's what.
So,
I hope,
but yeah.
I hope I have given justification that
Yes, yes, madam. We have a fantastic discussion. I think we have a fantastic discussion, and
both
Reshmi also performed very well.
Very good answer.
Excellent,
Thank you.
excellent, very good,
good, very
Thank
good.
you.
very good.
that's thank you, madam, and thank you, sir. It was a really pleasure having both of you here, and it was so systematic. Like whoever has attended, they must have been benefited to the core. Actually, I also got how to examine the students. We got so a lot of examiners also who are watching. They will also be guided by
Yes,
your
Please
knowledge,
give us
both
the
of you.
feedback. How was the program and everything?
Absolutely,
Give us
madam.
the
Absolutely,
feedback.
absolutely,
Simply
madam.
fabulous, madam. Makes me proud.
Yeah.
Makes me happy, and I am telling everyone online that you were my examiner and I passed. So I think Rashmi has also passed.
So we should
Jasmine,
also give.
there is one question for you, Rasmi. I have forgotten. If a patient is in the CCF, what is the left ventricular clinically how will do, and the right ventricle failure how you diagnose? And that's my last question.
Ma'am, right ventricular failure, we will have pedal edema. The jugular venous pressure will be raised, and on hepatic palpation, the jugular venous pressure will rise more in case of right ventricular failure.
Which way will rise? A, C,
And
B. Which way will more? A, C, B. Which one? Which one will be prominent?
specifically, wave.
You read it today. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Then anything else? Liver? Right. All right. Okay.
All
Left?
right. Ma'am, left side we'll have basal crepitations, cough, and there'll be blood pressure will be there'll be tachycardia, and blood pressure fluctuations, hypertension will be happening in case of left ventricular failure.
Also, there will be dyspnea. Dyspnea will be the main sign for
Cough
LVF.
and dyspnea. Cough and dyspnea will
That is the main symptom of LVF.
Luckily, your case is very simple. No atrial fibrillation, nothing. If atrial
We left that for
fibrillation
discussion.
there,
That was left for discussion. That was
That was discussed also. That
Left
was
for
discussed. That was
It's
discussed.
not so easy. Manage is very difficult. Clot may go, clot may block. So many complications can occur.
Okay. Reshmi, one thing. Actually, Jayanto sir wants to ask you one question. Sir is asking about what drug you should choose for the test dose in epidural. If you are going for a epidural anesthesia, then what drug you should be using as a test dose? It's this is question from Jayanto sir, Dr. Jayanto.
Your patient is in labor. Will you choose a test dose or not? Or if you choose, what drug you will choose?
Sir, in mitral stenosis, usually we do not do the epidural test dose because by chance, if the catheter is given intravascular, then the adrenaline present in the test dose will aggravate the heart rate. So, but usually we use for testing of an epidural. Usually we use 2% lignocaine with 1 in 2 lakh dilution of adrenaline. 3 ml is tested and checked for any kind of hemodynamic alterations. So, which tells us whether
you repeat it 2% lignocaine or 1.5% lignocaine. What is written in the book?
2% as far as I can recollect.
3 ml dose. It is 45 milligram of bupivacaine.
3 ml. 3 ml.
45. 3 ml means 45 milligram. It is written, then it is 1.5%.
Yes, sir. Okay.
And how much epinephrine?
1 in 2 lakh dilution.
Okay. It is 5 mics per ml.
5 micrograms per ml. Okay, sir.
5 mics per ml. So will you do it? You will not do it.
No, sir. We will not do it in this case because
patient with tachycardia. Any other reason for that in a labor patient? Your patient is in labor.
So in labor patients, there are more chances of injuring the epidural venous plexus because the venous plexus will be involved.
Question is about whether you do a test dose or not. Not complication of epidural, not complication of. Because if the patient is in active labor, there is a pain. Patient is also already having some tachycardia.
Avoid it.
Yeah. So if there is your catheter is migrated into a vein, there will be confounding features. You cannot judge the whether it is inside the vein or due to labor patient is having tachycardia. There will be confounding. You cannot judge the it is inside the vein. That is also the in labor. It is not recommended to do a test dose. You just
Okay, sir.
aspirate. You just aspirate whether the blood is coming. Then you give
And then
some
the
top up doses. That will be your
enough
safety.
for
That will be
patient.
safety. That will be your safety.
Yes,
One
sir.
point I would like to just tell to the students that don't use short forms like GA, LA, okay, PT, INR. So try to speak the full forms, okay, because sometimes some examiners get irritated. Okay, and your spellings and all should be correct. That's important. So that's also from my side. I think I should go out and so that madam can come in and Dr. Krishna Padar or Jyotsna madam, they can come in and they can say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Yeah.
And namaskar once again, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
So
Thank you, sir.
before Shailesh leaves, we should give a big thanks to Shailesh because Reshmi performed very well, and the credit goes to Shailesh.
Credit
Guru.
goes to Rashmi. Credit goes to Rashmi. Credit goes to madam for passing me. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
I'm going out and so they'll join.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you very much for giving us your precious time, and thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You are also managing the COVID duties in NRS medical colleges, so thanks from core of our heart. And thank you, Reshmi, for a very good presentation and a very good discussion with madam and sir. I think, yeah, I think we will continue this series for the PGTs every week. In next week also on Wednesday we will try to present a case and try to discuss a case, and the case will be announced within we will try to announce it within Friday, and at the same time next week Wednesday from 7:30 we will be there with another case. So I think Krishna madam, we are just waiting for Krishna madam to say some few words before we sign off. Just let me check whether the madam can join or not. Just wait. Yeah, madam is coming online. Then after madam says few words, we will sign off. So I would like to tell Manavendra sir to also encourage your PGTs from NRS Medical College to join and present in this forum.
I'll inform all of them. Okay.
Yeah, and I will also request madam if their PGTs from SCB Medical College can also attend these programs. Then
Yes,
we will.
yes. Definitely, I'll tell them. Definitely.
Now, how will they
Yes,
will
yes.
get the link? Listen to how they will get the link.
Oh,
Because he will send me the
sir,
link.
we are.
They are asking for
I
link.
will send you. Yeah, I will send you the link, sir. I will, sir. The link is already there in the ISA Metro City and ISA West Bengal branch, and I will also forward the link to you so that you can send the link to the your PGTs also.
Okay.
Okay. So, so Krishna madam is there, I think. Hello, madam.
Hello.
Yeah, madam. Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. So it was very fantastic session. In fact, I was thinking, I studied this and I could have not passed the exam. You both are my examiner, Ms. Nivedita madam and Dr. Manvendra. If you both are my examiner, I would have the fair. Rashmi is very good. She has done fantastic. And I am really thankful. Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and coming for examination. I learned a lot. I think almost people have learned a lot. It's really very good to refresh your knowledge, and for us also, for senior, of course, for the students, it's a good learning. Thank you, and I'll give trouble again in future whenever possible. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rashmi.
Thank you.
And thank you all of who are attending the session, and I'll request everyone, please attend the session. Please come and participate and make it very successful. Thank you.
Thank you,
All the
sir.
best,
Thank you, madam.
Rashmi.
All the best.
Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you,
Good
sir.
night. Yeah,
Good
good
night.
night. Thank you.
Okay.